So the number one reason why aquaponics as a business is failed is because the farmer is doing link the physical output of the system to a financial model. But before we get into that, first I want you to go to this website and hit like on the link here for me, so I could win this competition to get my minimum viable system up and running. And we can talk a little bit more about minimum viable system, but right now the topic at hand is why aquaponic businesses fail. So I think this is because people don't understand what aquaponics is. A water-based farming system like aquaponics got its own unique advantages, and the farmer, the current aquaponics thinking does not fully utilize the advantages of aquaponics. And I think that's because people don't actually know what the advantages are specifically. So what we want to do today is kind of describe what aquaponics is, what it's do for the farmer as a tool, and then you will get to understand the concept behind the minimum viable system. So what aquaponics is really a water-based farm, and quite similar to what a washing machine is do for washing. Aquaponics system is do for the farmer. Aquaponics as a tool is do for food production for the farmer. So because it's a water-based farming, the livestock that you use is, all right, let me back up. All right, in order to understand what's the benefits of aquaponics, you gotta compare it to traditional farming. All right, in the beginning for the farmer, it was a homestead type situation where you got the farm animals doing work on the farm, pets, and also food crops, livestock. And the waste from this livestock you will collect and process it, and then after you process it, you'll apply it to plants and that kind of thing for fertilizer. Now, the environmental losses, the loss to the environment from the manure through a normal farm, a traditional farming system, or a traditional farm, the losses to the environment is tremendous compared to aquaponics. When you feed the land-based livestock, first thing, some of the feed, like 5% of the feed, can get left over, and then when he consumes that, he can spend more energy because he's a warm-blooded animal. So you gotta maintain his body temperature, and he also gotta fight gravity because he's standing up. Whereas a fish don't gotta do nothing like that. So the feed conversion ratio on a fish is be like 1.5 or 2 pounds of feed will give 1 pound of tilapia, and 3 maybe 4 pounds of feed is give 1 pound of chicken. So you're already way more efficient on the from the get-go, and just by choice of livestock. And the physical waste from the land-based livestock is liquid and solid. The liquid going down the drain. You farm animals, whenever the pass water, that going wherever it is. Whereas the fish liquid waste already dissolve in the water, and the solids, then you gotta kind of go both through the farm and collect these solids to bring it in one collection, and then process it. So it's got operational losses in that. When you're scraping up manure and that kind of thing, you can miss some and all that. And right, so you can miss a lot of the manure, and there's losses there, operational losses there as well. And also when you're dealing with solid manure, the bacteria to convert the manure, again, have to grow on that physical solid manure to convert it. And when it's finished converting, any bacteria die off, and as you collect more manure, you go through that same process of building a bacterial colony in the compost pile to break down the manure to fertilizer. So for each, so it's a batch processing something, and a batch does usually lasts a month or so, or at least a lunar cycle. Now with aquaponics, because you're maintaining your biofilter with the perfect environment for the bacteria to grow in, you're maintaining the perfect bacterial colony in your biofilter. So when you pump the waste into the biofilter, it's get convert immediately because the bacteria are already present there, and they could get the manure when it's dissolved in the water, so they don't have to physically grow on the manure. So that's the key difference between aquaponics and all other types of food production, because aquaponics, for the first time, you have no losses to the environment, and you have immediate conversion from manure to fertilizer. So it's the most efficient and the first time you can actually account for the plant production based on livestock production. This is because there's no losses to the environment, so you know where fertilizer can be ended in your farm. So as a farming system, as a food production system, aquaponics is the only way to go. Yeah, that's how we see it. So yeah, that's what aquaponics is. And so once we kind of understand what it is and what it does do for we, now we could kind of look at how it does incorporate this into a financial model. Because the business, in a business, the actual business does be like a car, and the financial models be the engine. The finances is what does run the business. If you can't pay the bills, the business ain't shut down. So because aquaponics comprised of 3 life cycles. You got the fish life cycles, the plant life cycles, the bacterial life cycles. What you just do is that because the plant life cycles is in weeks, you just use sales from the plants to pay for labor, and because the fish life cycle is in months, you use the fish to pay the bills, right? So once you got a situation where you're harvesting and then paying your bills immediately after, then you can be always in a positive cash flow mode. And this is how you does build the aquaponic system, because then without positive the excess positive cash flow, you could invest in equipment and grow the output of the system with each cycle. Now, the link to make profit in aquaponics is the labor, right? A chain is as strong as its weakest link. So when you're designing aquaponics, you gotta design around labor, because the labor is the limiting factor, the most expensive, and so you got to optimize the labor first. So you got to optimize the quality of your labor first. And this is another thing about aquaponics that's unique about aquaponics, where you could learn the maintenance principles of aquaponics on a small scale, and because it's working ratios, meaning X amount of bacteria for X amount of fish waste and X amount of plants to deal with the bacteria. Because it's working ratios, you can learn aquaponics on a small scale where your infrastructure costs give me minimal, and then you could deal with the quality, increase the quality of your labor so that you maximize the output of the infrastructure, right? Because you're spending money, you want to make sure that you're getting the most money from the money you spend. So if you start small, say you start with 1,000 gallons and you're operating at 60% losses, 60% of 1,000 is 600, right? So you'd be losing 600. But if you're operating at 100 gallons and you lost 60%, you're only losing 60. So as a business, there's a strength of aquaponics where you can learn small in your backyard, the ratios, until you get the quality of your labor to the point where you're getting the most out of your infrastructure, and then you can start increasing the infrastructure. Now, with that in mind, and we're looking at the labor, how you actually link the labor to the labor, like how the bacteria is the bridge between the plants and the fish. The labor is the bridge between the physical and the financial. So you want to make sure now that your labor, the amount of labor that you're putting in, is actually maxed out. And I have found that when a biofilter is about 500 gallons and you have maxed out the bacterial colony size, the capacity for bacteria to convert fish waste into fertilizer at 500 gallons, and you max out, the labor to maintain such a system is usually be 8 hours a week. So that's kind of the point where you try to consolidate all the labor into one block per week. So you'll just be working one full day rather than 2 hours a day or whatever. And that's when you're getting kind of serious with this thing, because you're putting in 8 straight hours a day and you're looking for money for the labor that you put in. So that's what we call a minimum viable system, right? When the biofilter is 500 gallons. Now, after the minimum viable system, I should say, this type of system is rely heavily upon 1, video monitoring, and 2, automatic feeding. And the reason for this is because fish, basically, a tilapia belly is 2 hours long, so it's optimal to feed them every 2 hours. And if you go feed fish every 2 hours, the labor involved there, you can get a problem, because the actual labor involved with feeding the fish is minimal, but the time, or because the spacing every 2 hours, it is get quite expensive to hand feed fish. So you put them up on a automatic feeder, one that has carry a week's supply of food, and you just top it every week, so you don't actually have to hand feed the fish. The same way you could gauge response by hand feeding, you could gauge response by video monitoring, and it's all easy. If you got 12 months and you got 12 fish tanks, you could get a video sent to you upon, let me say, 3 seconds after feeding each tank, the activity of the fish. So you can gauge right from your desktop how the fish are responding to the feed, and adjust the suit. Now, on the plant side, you, you because the plant cycle is a plant cycle is usually in weeks. Let me say we got a 4-week crop like this. You want 4 stages so that you can transfer all the plants at the same time. Right? You can harvest and then transfer from stage 3 to the final stage, and then transfer and transfer. So it'll be like a conveyor belt type system where all the labor involved is being done one time. If a transplant does take on average 5 minutes or 2 minutes, say a transplant take on average 2 minutes, you can actually calculate how much labor will be involved with transplant harvesting, transplanting, and germinating, and then filling up the fish feeders, right? So that's what we call a minimum viable system. And you, because you know the amount of transplanting that you are doing and the approximate time that it should take to transplant all your plants, you could set out your maintenance program in such a way that everything just runs smooth. Now, transplanting these crops, harvesting, transplanting these crops, watering schedule involves change, and because the aquaponic system does, well, this aquaponic system does utilize coconut, which is very much similar to soil after it breakdown. Let's see if we could get a shot here. Right. So it's just coconut that grind up. So we use saying like that because it does hold the right amount of liquid, or is operate the best way we find for aquaponics, whereas provide a robustness of soil growing, but still you could control the irrigation and the water table to utilize it for aquaponics. And a big reason for this is because the high surface area and biological activity in the coconut husk, because it's like a soil-like matrix. You just got to keep enough moisture in it to maintain a viable aquaponic system. And the amount of moisture that you could send through the grow beds can be linked to the amount of nutrients in the actual water that you are feeding. So because you got total control of the root zone, and you got the root zone separated into weeks by stages, weeks of the plants, you could kind of cater for each week the actual irrigation schedule and the amount of nutrients that you send to the system, because ultimately the fish side is going to need solid removal, and so you could kind of pump the solids to the plants that get needed the most, and you got the robustness of soil and still the control, the precision control over the root zone to grow where you want. Now, because you got the plants in each stage and you know how much plants going on in each stage, it's got operational loss in the transplanting. So if you want to end up with, say, 10 plants to harvest, you might go start with 15, because in each stage you can lose some, so that by the time you get to the last stage, you only got a little bit of plants that's left over, because some plants can get stunned or whatever. And the idea in commercial farming is uniformity, so that when you water the grow bed, all the plants kind of utilize the same or very similar amounts of nutrient and actual liquid, so that you could standardize production. So you got control over the stages, and you got control over the root zone, and because you're spending on infrastructure, you also want to make sure that each week that you got is catered to the canopy size required for that week, because plants at week 1 ain't gonna need the same room as plants at week 4, right? So you want to make sure that your week 1 plants got the enough space for the canopy to reach sunlight, and that as you transplant it further and further apart till the optimal, keeping the space optimal, so that you could get the best utilization of the root zone. And that's what aquaponics is. And once you do that, you could whatever.